Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Deneen and this is Design by Denine. Today I'm participating in the final Look for Less challenge of 2020. This challenge is a monthly challenge which is hosted by Yami, the Latina next door, and every month she has a different co-host, and her co-host for this month is Lisa Birmingham. And Lisa is in a style that's closer to my own. As always, I've linked to both of their channels in the description box below, and I will also be linking up to the playlist, and you're probably going to want to check it out because there's always lots of really good stuff. So my project for this month is a mirror, and I personally am kind of partial to mirrors. I have lots of them in my house and I'm probably gonna have lots more. So this one was from Bed Bath & Beyond. My version is quite a lot cheaper than theirs. So let's get to it. To start with, we're gonna be cutting some squares. There are a couple ways you can do this. You can just go ahead and do this using a ruler and a Sharpie or a pen. I'm using a silver Sharpie because I'm working on black poster board. Or you can use something to cut for you, like I have a trimmer that I use, and I will link it down in the description. I bought mine at Walmart. You can get these on Amazon. They're fairly inexpensive. This thing has been a game changer for me. I bought it for a project I did recently, which I will link up in the top. And I am finding I'm using it all the time. It's awesome. It's technically a paper trimmer, so it's got a slide cutter on it as opposed to like a guillotine style, the old school paper cutters. Yeah, my recommendation is that it's just much easier to use a paper cutter of some sort to do this, but no worries, you can always kick it old school with a pen and a ruler. Okay, so what I did for mine was first I cut the poster board so it fit perfectly within the paper cutter, and then I just fed it through. And for this piece I was cutting them in 5-inch pieces, so I just fed them through. And what I actually did was I pre-marked it for 5-inch intervals, and then I just cut them off at 5 inches. In actual fact, I kind of went about this backwards. The better way to do this would have been to feed it from the top, because there's measurements marked on the body of the cutter, and then just hit the 5 or 4 or 3-inch mark and just whip them off. So in the end, you're going to end up with 24 pieces each of 5-inch squares, 4-inch squares, and 3-inch squares. This number might vary slightly depending on how tightly you glue them together. So 4-inch square. And I find it works best if you use like something to put a curve in it. So either that way or that way. Just to make it a little bit easier to bend so you don't get creases in it. And then I also found it works better if you just get it all the way where you want it. So if you're going to do it like this, and for me, because I'm right-handed, I keep it folded this way so I can get the glue in from that side. And then just put a little bit of glue in there. Don't need a ton, and you don't need to do it all the way down, so just enough to attach it. And try not to burn yourself, because this is all going to be covered up anyway, so you don't have to worry about getting a perfect cone. So there you go. So at this point you should have your foam core circle cut out for the base, as well as 3 sets of 24 cones, each in 5-inch, 4-inch, and 3-inch, that being the size of the original squares. So starting with the largest 5-inch cones, you're going to attach them to the outside edge of the circle using hot glue. So the way that I did this was to do a line of glue on the outside edge of the circle and then attach the wider end of the cone and also glue down the point of the cone. I would suggest the better way to do this is to apply the glue not to the exterior of the backing circle, but to the back of the cone, because I found in the end you could see little globs of glue on the bits of the circle that you could see. So instead I would just put one line on the fat end of the cone and a little dab on the pointy end of the cone, and then just apply them that way. Try to keep them as even as possible, although you'll notice in mine it's not completely even lined up to my mark for my mirror, but that's okay. I've managed to work it out in the end. The first level is now completed, and we're going to get to work on the second level. For this level, you're going to use your 4-inch cones, and what I did with the glue here, I just did like a little squiggle, as you can see here. And then you just hold it in between the two cones and then just press it for a second until it dries. It's nice and warm. And then just keep working your way around until you're completed your second level. Lastly, we'll be doing the final level using the 3-inch cones. I highly suggest that before you start placing any cones that you take the exterior portion of your mirror frame and put it in place before you put the cones in. This way you won't end up trying to jam it in there afterwards because it won't fit. So don't glue it in place, just place it there because you're going to take it out and paint it later. With this level, I pre-placed all the cones just to make sure that I got a nice finished edge, and then I just went back in and lifted them one by one and glued them into place. Here's the finished first level, second level, and the final third level. Now it's time to add paint, and we will be using Rust-Oleum metallic finish in gold. In order to achieve a similar look to the original version, I've used a second paint finish, and I've used the Rust-Oleum hammered bronze. Now I'm not spraying this on in a full spray like I did with the gold. I'm actually just lightly drizzling it, so it's just getting like little drips of it on top of the gold. You need to make sure with this paint that you shake it really, really well, or it tends to get watery. In order to achieve this finish, you want to do very light passes with minimum pressure on the spray nozzle. But if you make a mistake, don't worry about it because it's paint and you can always paint over it again. So here is a close-up of what the sort of speckled finish looks like, and this I think looks much more like an actual metal finish, similar to the original version. So as I mentioned earlier, my cones were not all completely aligned, so that I had a little bit of a wider gap on one side than the other side of the mirror frame. So what I decided to do to remedy that situation is I just took this cording. It's just dollar store cording. It's pretty cheap and doesn't matter what color because we're going to paint it. And I just hot glue it all the way around the edge of the mirror frame. And the best way to do this to get a really nice, clean, smooth finish is to just glue a little section at a time and kind of stretch it a little bit so you don't get any lumps or bumps in it. And it ends up looking basically like it's a part of the mirror. So here's what it looks like when it's all completed. And I just need to take it outside now and give it the same paint finish as the rest of the project. So the mirror has been replaced into the back of the frame. So the mirror's done in the same finish. So if you get this seam right, you won't really even be able to see it. Because that's the side. And it's like, you can't really see, once it's all done, you can't really see it's there. We are going to glue this into place in here. The last bit is to add a hanger. I have a little picture hanging kit. It has lots of these things in it, so So here's the finished product all hung up in the hallway, in my entranceway. It's not exactly the same as the Bed Bath & Beyond mirror, but Still think it's a pretty good dupe for $6. I personally preferred it when it was the solid gold color. I might actually go back and just paint it the gold, but I did want to provide you with a more of a metal look finish, so you can do yours whichever way makes you happy.